I've been sent this morning, so I think we have to react to like the latest news here, Joe. Have you seen this Zuckerberg quote with Joe Rogan?
I actually was just watching that.
Okay, let's just watch it together.
It's like a 15-minute clip, right?
No. It's a 2-minute clip.
Oh, okay.
The
so
important part is a 2-minute
version.
clip.
Right.
Yeah. So let me just share this real quick because this is now I think the thing is, Joe, a lot of people, especially on the same political spectrum that we end up being on here, if you're on the right or you're a libertarian or someone who doesn't like censorship just in general as an issue, if you do not like censorship, you're not a fan of Mark Zuckerberg.
Right.
But people were messaging me that he admitted to censoring this story specifically. I don't know whether he says it that on the nose. So here's what he says.
The laptop.
Yeah. How do you guys handle things when they're a big news item that's controversial? Like there was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story. The New York
we
Post.
had that too.
Yeah, so you guys censored that as well?
So we took a different path than Twitter. I mean, basically the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team.
So that's the part that people want to focus on real quick, is that the FBI came to Facebook and also probably came to the other social media sites as well. So they actually came to them. And by the way, this is when it was the Trump regime. The FBI is unilaterally or whatever is going to Zuck
team. It was like, hey, just so you know, like you should be on high alert. There was we thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant. So our protocol is different from Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share this at all. We didn't do that. What we do is we have, if something is reported to us as potentially misinformation, important misinformation, we also have this third-party fact-checking program because we don't want to be deciding what's true and false. And
I was going to say the third-party fact checkers are literally garbage. In fact, they're so bad.
The people who are just slightly to the left of Brian Stelter.
Well, I would say like the third-party fact checkers are so bad. Literally, if they say something is false, it's probably true. It's probably true.
It's like basically Rachel Maddow, but like obviously not Rachel Maddow herself because they need to get the ethnically appropriate Rachel Maddow. But that's essentially what it is. It's just literally one crazier and crazier left-winger after another.
Yeah.
I think Michelle Dauber is literally on it. You know Michelle Dauber?
Yeah. She's on the third-party fact-checking sites.
I'm not sure. I remember seeing something to that effect. I haven't seen it.
I think you're right, though. I think she is on one of them. And that she's, by the way, she's the crazy going off about all the feminist shit related to the Amber Heard case.
Yeah, she's still saying today that it's clear as day. She's a Stanford professor, law professor, professor, who to this day basically thinks that she's going to win her appeal and Amber will be vindicated and just insane.
But
that's
also,
these are the people.
Michelle Dauber has been in the gender grift for the past 20 years since Clinton. She's been in the gender grift. She's pushed this gender politics ideas since then. So I mean, she's committed to that.
Committed is the perfect word.
I think it was 5 or 7 days when it was basically being determined whether it was false. The distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it. You could still consume it.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
it got shared.
How does that work?
It basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less. So
a little bit less?
He actually admits that it's like, let him finish, because he actually admits that it probably had a very dramatic impact.
Fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely...
By what percentage?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's meaningful. But I mean, but basically, a lot of people are still able to share it. We got a lot of complaints that was the case. Obviously this is a hyper political issue. So depending on what side of the political spectrum, you either think we didn't censor it enough or censored it way too much. But we weren't sort of as black and white about it as Twitter. We just kind of thought, hey, look, if the FBI, which I still view as a legitimate institution in this country, it's like very professional law enforcement. If they come to us and tell us that we need to be on guard about something, then I want to take that seriously.
Did they specifically say you need to be on guard about that story?
No, I don't remember if it was that specifically, but it basically fit the pattern.
Okay, so
that's it's anti-Biden.
Yeah.
That's
So the pattern. Yeah, anything that hurts Joe, we must protect our Joe. So what do you think about that? I mean, it's not a confession. I think some people were messaging me like, this is a confession that they censored that story specifically. He kind of danced around that. I don't think he confesses to that, although he admits that's one of the stories, right?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a confession with respect to that individual story that they did everything short of banning it. That's how I take it. So if you shared it directly, maybe it wouldn't show up on the feeds, but if someone happened to be scrolling through your wall, they could see it, like that sort of thing. You wouldn't get notices about updates on people talking about it. That's that sort of thing, which basically is the only way anyone finds anything on Facebook. So it's possible to be shared. It's not like a prohibited, there's no button that was pushed that if you tried, sharing it, it wouldn't go through. However, the chances of you just stumbling on it were pretty much impossible.
Yeah, you weren't just gonna end up there, right? On that story, and also that specific story. We know that other platforms, once again, they've come out and specifically said they nuked that, right? So I mean, Zuckerberg is saying, yeah, Twitter nuked that story, and other platforms nuked that story completely, deplatformed that story completely, just completely removed.
I think that his explanation there was designed to say, hey, at least we're not Twitter. That's basically what he was saying. Twitter completely terrible. We found a very what I think he still thinks is a healthy middle ground. Later in that interview, he actually gets Joe Rogan to almost go along with him, saying, like, if you're in our position there, what do you do? We have two opposing political factions. One saying it's totally true, totally true. The other saying, no, this is bunk. We've been warned by the FBI not that we should be on the high alert and be very, very vigilant. Be vigilantly on guard. So what are we? So he's basically trying to say we tried to find the middle ground, and that's the middle ground that we found. So what's your take to that? I mean, as far as, let's try to be reasonable here, and assume you own a company, and let's say it was a story. Let's say instead of being about Hunter Biden, it was a story. It was the Steele dossier type of thing. So and now you own a company that is a massive flow of information place, a main valve in as far as sharing information.
Yeah.
And you've been told by the FBI, watch out for a lot of these stories being crap. So we have to look at objectively, okay, what would you do in that situation?
Right. Well, I mean, you look at what's your legal obligation, and your legal obligation is there's no legal obligation yet. I mean, the FBI can tell me they're crap. That's nice, FBI. Appreciate that. But as far as I know, the publication of any of that information is protected, that I am protected in my publication of that information. The government has given me protections, right, from that. So therefore, because I'm legally insulated, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it even more, right? I'm going to allow the flow even more. I'm not going to clamp down on it at all, because guess what? Everybody else is. So I find my market niche in the free flow of information. And I know that people are going to come to my marketplace. They're going to invest in my company, because that's the only place I can get the free flow of information. That's the only place I can get the entire story. And I know it can blow up now. Now I may, in the short run, lose some money from ESG investment, from other things. Maybe I have to take the company private. Maybe public is not an option, right? Because public funding, ESG is really huge with investors, investment. I get that.
You're already publicly traded, though. You're already a publicly traded company.
You can take a company private, Joe. You can take a company private.
Okay, fine. That's fine. But my he still is going to have to answer to his investors, to
That's true.
To Coca-Cola, to Walt Disney.
And you may lose Coca-Cola, but I guarantee you up your viewership, because you are the only one. Remember Fox back in the day, Joe?
Okay, but
Fox,
you have to ask yourself.
Remember when Fox? No, hold on. Do you remember when Fox was like the far and away number one news network because everybody else was spouting the same liberal bullshit, and Fox finally had another perspective, so they were just destroying everybody else.